Subang Airport, 31 August 1994. Men dressed as police calmly move about RM12 million in gold out of a guarded cargo complex, or so a later investigator remembered. But the familiar version? 300 bars stolen at midnight in exactly 20 minutes is not established by the surviving primary record. What can be proved is stranger. The value survived in official history, while the gold, the verdict, and much of the legal trail did not. This is Malaysia's Merdeka Day gold heist. The target stood at Subang, west of Kuala Lumpur, the Malaysia Airlines cargo complex, servicing the country's main international airport at the time. It happened on Merdeka Day, Malaysia's national holiday. Later accounts suggest the holiday made cargo routines quieter and easier to study, though the contemporary report gives no timetable. The stable figure is about RM12 million. Contemporary reporting, later police accounts, and an official institutional statement all repeat that value. No shipment manifest located for this research establishes 300 kilograms or 300 bars. Those memorable numbers entered popular retellings later. The morning after the robbery, the investigation pointed inside the complex. Police detained 5 men believed to be security personnel based there. That detention is established by a New Straits Times report dated New September, but detention is not proof of collusion, guilt, or even formal charges. The report does not say the 5 men were convicted, charged, or cleared. Their final legal status is missing from the accessible account. Still, the first move revealed the central weakness. Investigators apparently suspected that access, routine, or security knowledge had helped the thieves. A guarded airport should make stolen bullion difficult to remove. Yet the available record contains no public account of a forced entry, firefight, or smashed barrier. That leaves an uncomfortable possibility. Perhaps the decisive tool was not a weapon. Perhaps it was the appearance of authority. Within a week, the public direction of the case changed. A second newspaper report named the group police and media would associate with the robbery for decades. Mamak Gang, behind Unrecovered gold bar heist. The report said the gang was believed to have carried out the robbery. That phrase records an attribution, not a finding reached after a trial. The label itself also needs care. It is the name used in police and press sources, not proof of any person's ethnicity, identity, or guilt. So what linked the gang to the airport? The most detailed public reconstruction appeared almost 3 decades later through a retired investigator who had worked the case. In a 2023 interview, Amidon Anan described a gang that prepared for at least a month and watched the cargo area from a nearby hotel. According to his recollection, the watchers studied the guards' routines from a room facing the complex. The target was not merely gold, it was predictability. Every shift change, checkpoint, and cargo movement could reveal another weakness. A convincing uniform might then turn that knowledge into permission. Anand said CCTV showed 5 people entering in police uniforms. He alleged that the uniforms were made by the gang and police caps were purchased. That is powerful evidence about the later investigative theory. But the CCTV footage itself is not publicly available in the research record used here. Anand's account says the impersonators did not storm the building. They reportedly asked the guards to help move the gold. If true, the guards became unwilling assistants without realizing it. Authority had transformed a robbery into what looked like an official transfer. The same recollection says 3 Toyota cars were used. It also says no weapons were needed during the extraction and no shots were fired. Later retellings reduced the entire operation to exactly 20 minutes. Anand instead remembered an escape completed in less than an hour. Some versions place the robbery at midnight. Others put it before dawn. The accessible contemporary report settles neither the start time nor the duration. Whatever the exact hour, the reconstructed escape ends the same way. Cars carrying the gold pull away before the alarm can stop them. Anand said the guards were tied only to delay the alarm. He also recalled RM15 notes being left with them, one of the story's strangest details. Again, these details come from a later first-hand recollection. The brief 1994 newspaper account does not independently confirm the uniforms, cars, restraints, or money. The impersonation explains how the gold may have crossed the first barriers. It does not explain how millions in identifiable bullion disappeared afterward. Gold is heavy, recognizable, and difficult to spend in bar form. Moving it out of the airport was only the first problem. According to Anand, buyers were ready in Penang within hours. Investigators later believed they traced a disposal route toward gold merchants there. His account says the bullion had already been melted or mixed into jewelry by the time police reached that stage. Melting would erase serial markings and reshape the evidence. Mixing it into jewelry could scatter the value through countless ordinary objects. But this disposal chain is not independently established by a recovered manifest, forensic report, or documented chain of custody available here. A harder official statement came 2 decades later. The Enforcement Agency Integrity Commission said the loot from the Subang heist was never recovered. Those two accounts can coexist. Police may have suspected where the gold went without recovering bullion they could identify and present as the stolen shipment. That distinction would become crucial. Knowing a likely disposal route is not the same as proving which bar became which bracelet. Investigators now faced a case with suspects, a suspected method, and a suspected market, but perhaps no physical gold left to connect them. Later reporting says arrests followed, and investigators spent about 6 months tracing the gold. It also says no robbery conviction resulted because the evidence was insufficient. Yet no accessible judgment, charge sheet, case number, or appeal record was located for this research. Even the legal ending remains difficult to inspect. This is the courtroom gap. Public suspicion became strong enough to endure for decades, but the accessible record does not show a judgment proving the robbery. A case file can name suspects, chart movements, and collect statements. Without admissible links, however, the entire structure can collapse when the courtroom doors open. The careful conclusion is not that a court proved the suspects innocent. It is that later accounts report no conviction, while the underlying legal record remains unavailable. Popular versions fill that gap with a missing witness called Che de la. Some say he disappeared. Another later account says he died. Neither story is established here. The name and alleged role are absent from both the accessible contemporary report and Amadon Anand's 2023 interview. The same caution applies to claims that suspects were banished or placed under restricted residence for exactly 2 years under emergency powers. Later articles repeat versions of that outcome, but the order's legal basis, affected names, and precise duration were not verified from primary records. The legend therefore offers a complete ending. The witness vanishes, prosecution fails, and suspects are banished. The documents available here do not support that certainty. What can be documented more clearly is the response at the airport. The heist left an institutional mark even without a public verdict. In October 1994, Malaysia's parliament recorded questions about 2 gold bar robberies at an airport cargo complex, including concerns over Subang's security and value. The retrieved Hansard pages preserve the questions, not the ministerial answers. They show official concern, but not the investigation's final status. Another trace surfaced through an unrelated cargo loss lawsuit. Its evidence described how the Subang Cargo Centre operated after the gold robbery. In 2000, the Singapore Court of Appeal noted that exit controls at the cargo centre had been tightened following the 1994 heist. The judgment does not prove the robbers' method. It does prove that the heist caused a documented change in how vehicles and cargo were allowed to leave. Years passed, but the gang's name kept returning in Malaysian police and press accounts. Each later incident made the 1994 attribution feel more permanent. In 2004, The Star reported that alleged gang leader Maud Yusuf Abu Bakar had been recaptured after 3 years on the run. Later reports linked the gang to other major robberies, including a 2006 microchip theft at Penang Airport. Those allegations did not prove the Subang case. Then, in November 2014, a police operation in Taman Melawati ended in gunfire. Anwar Osman was killed, and an alleged accomplice was injured and arrested. Official reports described Anwar Osman as a suspected Mamak Gang member wanted for about 20 years. They connected that long search to the Subang heist. Police said a revolver, machetes, axes, a ski mask, a police vest, and 16 false number plates were recovered after the operation. The police vest echoed the impersonation theory from 1994, but evidence recovered 20 years later cannot be projected backward as proof of the earlier robbery. The 2014 EAIC account added 2 enduring facts. 14 suspects had been sought in connection with the heist, and the loot had never been recovered. That statement confirms the official attribution remained alive in 2014. It still does not replace the missing trial record or prove every suspect's role. The documentary trail now spans 3 clear milestones: the robbery and arrests in 1994, tightened controls documented in 2000, and the unrecovered loot statement in 2014. Later police operations in 2017 and 2018 again involved men described in reports as suspected gang members. Those events belong to the gang's later police history. They do not solve the original evidentiary problem. A violent later encounter cannot prove who crossed the Subang cargo gate in 1994. Strip away the legend, and the strongest public theory remains police impersonation by a locally organized gang. It is well documented as a theory, not a verdict. An insider theory also remains plausible because 5 security personnel were detained immediately. Yet the detention report does not establish that any of them helped. An international syndicate theory has even less support. Sophistication alone does not prove that an overseas organizer directed the robbery. The most cinematic claims are the weakest. Precisely 300 bars, exactly 20 minutes, a settled midnight start, and a witness eliminated before trial. Those details make the robbery easier to tell. They also hide the real mystery beneath a story that sounds more complete than the evidence allows. The established core is already extraordinary. Gold, worth about RM12 million, vanished from a guarded national airline facility on Malaysia's National Day. 5 security personnel were detained the next day. Within a week, a notorious gang had been publicly blamed, yet the accessible legal trail never delivers a final judgment. The airport changed its exit controls. Police kept pursuing people associated with the gang. The gold itself remained officially unrecovered. If it was melted, the evidence may have flowed into rings, chains, and bracelets long ago, objects moving openly through the same country where the bars vanished. As of 28 August 2026, no authoritative public update located here confirms whether the original case file is formally open, closed, or dormant. The accurate conclusion is narrower. The robbery remains publicly unresolved, the loot remains officially unrecovered, and the case's legal disposition remains unclear. Perhaps the greatest trick was not removing the gold. It was leaving behind a story strong enough to feel proven when the decisive records were still missing. Who do you think truly made the Merdeka Day gold heist possible? Convincing impersonators, inside knowledge, or a combination of both? Thank you for watching the case of the Merdeka Day gold heist. Subscribe for more carefully researched mysteries and join us for the next case waiting on screen.